Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 11 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Todd Giatrelis, the CEO of MVS Pet Care, and the service which brings general wellness care, vaccinations, illness, and injury care right to the customer's doorstep. Comes as a welcome relief to the 68% of U.S. families that own a pet who routinely experience the anxiety of transporting their cat or dog to their vet's office and back. I'm going to talk to Todd about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. Stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach. Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system. Coach. Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed. Consult. Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track. And advise. Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032. That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 11 years now, we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Todd Giatrelis, the CEO of MVS Pet Care, and the service which brings general wellness care, vaccinations, illness, and injury care right to the customer's doorstep comes as a welcome relief to the 68% of U.S. families that own a pet. Hi, Todd. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, Marty. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Todd. It's great to finally have you on the show. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Todd?
Right outside of Boston. Arlington, Massachusetts
fantastic.
is where our corporate office is.
Oh, that's terrific. How's the weather there this morning, Todd?
Today it's beautiful. It was a rough weekend, but the weather is beautiful today.
Yeah, same here in Pennsylvania. It's finally starting to warm up so that you could kind of see or feel traces of spring. It was a rough winter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And you being in Pennsylvania and me being here, it hurt even more with the Super Bowl. So.
Exactly. That's fantastic. This was when I was reading about this, the whole business model, Todd, I thought it was really fascinating because, we really haven't had this type of concept on the show, in doing it 11 years. Maybe we can go back, to the beginning. You could describe, the founding of MVS Pet Care.
Sure. So, we looked at where the needs were right now in the marketplace, and there's just so many businesses out there doing different things. And,
right.
As I was walking down the street one day and in my neighborhood, and it seems like every month I see more pets and more households that have pets. And we're really brainstorming of, what does the market need? What can we do that's different? And what can be a game changer? And, we started really doing a lot of research and looking at the market and just looking at the scope of how big pets are in the industry and how many households have pets, how it's over a $60 billion industry right now.
Yeah.
And we were really excited to do something different. And we partnered up with a great veterinarian, and we really just took a hard look at what the market needs were, and we just went full bore ahead into it. And we're really excited about what we're doing and how it can really help a lot of consumers really have their pets taken care of, when before a lot of them would not go to the vet because it was just so difficult for them.
Because it's stressful, isn't it, Todd? I grew up with pets, but most of my life, and I remember, some of those occasions when the pet was really sick. It's very difficult on some occasions to even get them to the vet, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I grew up with a cat, and I know my cat never wanted to go to the veterinarian. So It was always an issue. It didn't want to go in the car, and it was never a fun time. So I think, being able to go into people's homes, it's much more comfortable for them. They don't have to have that worry about getting the pet to the veterinarian, and I think it really does help them with their anxiety and with the pet's anxiety. A lot of pets, they don't like to go into the car, and they don't like to go into that sterile environment. And we've really, I think we've really helped them out too.
It's almost like they know, isn't it, Todd? It's funny, we always swore that, the couple of dogs that we had, growing up most of my life, that it's almost like they knew they were going to the vet, It's like they're smarter than people think, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, for sure. I don't know if they get that sixth sense, but they can definitely tell that there's something different's going on, and they do not want to do it.
Right. And they are part of the family, too, today, Todd. I had a friend who recently got married, and it was interesting. She took her dogs to the wedding. She had two nice dogs, and the dogs are actually in the wedding photos with the family, So, pets
awesome.
have really become part of the family, haven't they?
Yeah, it's an extension of the family. And, even if you look at the spending habits of households now, they're spending just as much on pets as they are on their children, and it really is an extension of the family.
How do you typically describe MVS Pet Care? If you were at like a franchise show, Todd, and someone came up to your booth and said, so the typical question is always, so what do you guys do? How do you typically respond to that?
Sure. So we'll typically say that we're a franchise network of at-home or veterinarians, and you know, we're really helping on the business side for the veterinarians, because when they're in school, they're practicing medicine. They're learning how to really be a great doctor. And when we really started talking to a lot of them, what we found out is they literally might have one class the whole time on business. And we're really trying to provide that back end piece to help them be successful and how to run a business. And, you know, like we always say, you're in business, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Right, not by yourself.
You know, we want to make sure that we're there to help them.
It's I was telling this story the other day, Todd. You know, I was talking to someone. You know, we had a neighbor who was a chiropractor, and same situation. You know, he studied the field of being a chiropractor, but I don't think he ever had a business course. And then when he went into business, he had a really hard time with it. You know, because it's like you said, I think he might have only had like one business course. And you always wonder why that is, because, you know, a lot of veterinarians, of course, you know, they want to open up their own practice, you know, and go into business, but they don't get that, you know, and franchising seems like really, you know, the appropriate, you know, model for MVS. When did the organization decide that, you know, franchising would be a viable means of distribution for this type of service, Todd? Was it from the origin, or is it something that just kind of happened?
No, it was from the origin. When we set out, we knew we were going to build a franchise network. All that started probably in March of last year. And so, you know, almost a year ago now. And we really started, you know, doing all that due diligence, looking into it, again, you know, and then decided we're going to go out and find the right veterinary partner to find that had a practice that was doing well, that really had a good understanding of it. And, you know, in our partner, Dr. Jeremy Gransky, that's what we found, you know, and he's been doing house call services for over 12 years. And, you know, he's got a very successful business, and we really modeled everything right after his practice. And I think it's really the right way to do it.
Yeah, I love the whole at-home concept, Todd. You know, even that, you know, I've been doing what's called teledoc, you know, so if my son is sick or my wife is sick, I mean, as long as it's nothing, you know, real serious, you know, but we've been doing it, you know, you could do it right through Skype, you know, or things like that. And I think the whole at-home concept, it really makes sense because you're in your own environment, you know, so, I mean, there's so many benefits to that. How does technology play a role in the business today, Todd?
Well, you know, with wireless connectivity, I think that going right into the home with a laptop, all the records are right on the laptop. When you're going to every visit, you've got a printout of the pet that you're seeing, and you know exactly, you know, the last time they got any vaccinations, you know why you're going for the visit, you know if there's any illnesses. So literally, you can be anywhere in the country and have the ability to take a look at the records and then be able to act on whatever needs to be done. So it's much different than before.
That's great. And there's the repeat sale process as well, Todd. You know, I mean, of course, you know, as you know, is you see a patient once, you know, and then you get that repeat sale, you know, over the course of time, you know, because pets, I guess, do have their like annual visits, don't they? Just kind of like almost like going to the dentist, isn't it? Sometimes, you know, where you have that repeat factor, and all the people in the neighborhood, they also have pets too, don't they? So if they see a truck or something like that, it's a great way to capture new business, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, that's great, and they'll see typically the SUV with the logo on the side of it, and people knock on the window sometimes to Dr. Gransky, and I mean, he literally had to take the decal off for a while because he was so busy he couldn't accept any more patients. So
that's great.
You know, he said, you know, he told us the story when he was being parked one time, and someone knocked on his window, and he got startled, and they said, "Oh, you know, can you help me?" So yeah, it's really I think it's really popular, and people really enjoy the service.
Yeah, and that's how you know you have something too. You know, when you're at the point where you can't even take on new customers, Todd, which is fantastic. And you know what amazes me about this industry, Todd, is you were mentioning earlier, I guess it was a $60 billion industry, but it seems like there's always growth in the industry as well. As I guess as we were saying earlier, pets are really part of the family now today, isn't it? So it's a nice growing industry as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I think the statistics bear out that 2.3 pets per household that have pets.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's one thing that I was really shocked to hear when we really started researching everything. I always just view people as, you have a dog or a cat or one or one of each. But to actually hear that the statistics are even north of 2, that really that says a lot of how things are really trending in the industry.
It's interesting, Todd, because I teach for Kaplan University, and a lot of times, when students are making their introductions, they're always posting pictures of their pets. But I'm always surprised at how many people have, as you said, more than one. It's usually 2, 3, 4. And they refer to them as fur babies and things of that nature. And it's just really interesting this shift in society. So I think it's fantastic. What makes MVS Pet Care stand out from the competition? Because there is always competition in any industry, Todd. So, what makes MVS stand out?
Yeah, so I think right now we're the only franchised network out there. So there are a lot of people that are, I think, single practitioners out there that are doing it. But I think what stands out is really just the successful formula. So being able to understand this, how to schedule properly, how to fit people in when they need to be seen, how to have that back end system with all the records and all the practice management software and have it up to date, knowing when people, when certain pets need to be vaccinated, knowing when their annuals are coming up. So I think it's driving the business side of it makes us a lot better than the competition.
Right. That's something. What's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you, Todd, since launching MVS Pet Care? I'm sure you have hundreds of stories. The interesting one when you were telling the story of the gentleman knocking on the SUV, is an interesting one. Anything else stand out over the course of time?
I think just going into the homes and meeting all different people. I think it really opens your eyes to how, as you said earlier, how pets are really an extension of the family. I mean, when you go into someone's home and you see them sitting down with their pet, that is so much different than being in an office environment and having people just sitting in a chair like when we go to the doctors and just sitting there, no one says anything and everyone's really really nervous or doesn't want to be there. When you walk into someone's home, that piece right there, I think has been the piece that says, wow, this is really something different, and this is something that people really love to have.
It seems like, it's a throwback to almost like the old days, Todd. I always remember when, my grandmother was alive, my father used to always talk about the old days in the Bronx, and he would always talk about how, life was so much better and that, the doctor would come to his house, and he always appreciated that, and that the doctor always had such a strong relationship with the family, and this really is a relationship business, isn't it? Not only with the families that own the pet, but even with the pet itself, so I think it's really fantastic. Maybe we could talk a little bit about franchising, Todd. I mean, what types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees or prospective franchisees, I should say?
Well, in this model, because obviously you have to be a doctor, right? So we're looking for someone that has probably practiced for a couple of years, maybe has worked in a veterinary hospital or in a like environment. We're looking for someone that wants to be system oriented, that wants our help, that wants someone to say, okay, guys, I need help scheduling. I need help running my business. I got an application this weekend, and I thought it was from someone in Arizona. And they said, I did this on my own. I've been doing it for a while. I started out well. Things aren't going so well now. I'm not a good business person. I need your help. And I thought that said it in a nutshell.
That's it.
That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that people are set up to succeed.
It's really it's fantastic, and there's enough students out there, of course, pursuing, a degree in veterinary medicine, So I think the market, of course, is certainly huge, So I think it's a wonderful service for that audience. What is the training like, Todd? I mean, once you decide, that you do indeed like them, they like you, and they want to come aboard as a franchisee, where does the training typically take place? Do they come to headquarters for that? How does that work?
So they'll come to headquarters for about 7 days. We have
Okay.
classroom training, and they'll also do a ride-along with Dr. Gransky. So they'll ride along with Jeremy for probably 2 or 3 days, and then we've got 300 to 400-page manual that will go over everything for them, from practice management software to how we're going to help them schedule, to how to run every aspect of their business. So it's a pretty intense training program. And then when they start getting on the road, we will actually go out to them and spend a couple of days riding along with them to make sure that everything that they learned is being executed in the field.
You, in studying your background, Todd, I can see, you certainly have all the characteristics and traits of an entrepreneur. And when we have someone on the show like yourself, we always like to ask the question, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? I saw a number recently. I think they said there was something like 3,800 different systems out there. So for our listeners who want to get into franchising, it's always a bit overwhelming, because there's so much out there. From everything you've learned, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy your franchise?
Sure. I think whatever franchise that they pick, I think they have to make sure that they've got a great system and they offer great support. I think those are the two things. You don't want to be in a system where people are constantly making changes. We talk to people all the time, and they look at the franchise agreement. They look at the FDD, and they say, can you make this change? Can you make that change? We always say, no, we're not going to weaken the system for any one person. So we always want to make sure that system is strong, that people that run that franchise system have a good understanding of it and know that to build a big system and have people be successful, it's not always going to be the easiest thing for everyone. People are going to dislike certain things. But in the end, it's going to make the system that much stronger, which is going to make the franchise company, that much more money, and it's going to make the person that buys the franchise that much more successful.
Yeah, and that support is so important, isn't it, Todd? I'm sure it makes the business owner feel to have that comfort, as you were saying earlier. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, and that's why you really get into franchising, isn't it? Is because you got this strong system, and of course you have the support as well, and that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what makes good systems different from bad systems.
Yeah,
we've literally got a 24/7 call center where any franchisee, when they're ready and they're out and ready to open, they can call us anytime they want, and we're going to answer the phone.
That's great. Is the service itself, Todd? You mentioned 24/7. I guess something can always happen, right? In the early morning hours at 2 a.m. or something like that. Is it like something on call too as well? If an emergency happens, would somebody come out, or how does that work?
So right now we're looking at partnering up with what they call specific emergency on-call centers that can handle those calls for the off hours. And obviously, it's no different than human health care. Obviously, if there's a real emergency, there are emergency hospitals that someone should call. So they would handle that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning emergency. That's something that we're not going to probably handle. But anything that comes in overnight via schedule or an emergency, we'll get to it first thing in the morning and then make an assessment on whether it should be seen by an actual hospital right away if it's a critical situation, or if it's a situation where we'll slot them into the schedule and see them that day.
That's terrific. So as a CEO, Todd, I could ask you, the next question. Where do you see MVS Pet Care? If you could look into a crystal ball, maybe, 3 to 5 years down the road, where do you see the organization?
Well, I think we see the organization as scaling quickly. I think we just had our first trade show at VMX in Orlando, which is the big conference. We had overwhelming support there. And 3 to 5 years from now, I think that we see a lot of territories throughout the United States with the MVS logo on them. So we're really excited about what we think we can do with this concept and how quick it can scale.
Well, the market is certainly huge enough, isn't it, Todd? As you're saying, I mean, it's when you look at the size of the market, I mean, it could really keep you busy the rest of your life, So I think that's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners, Todd, to get more information on MVS Pet Care? Of course, as a franchise opportunity and even the service itself. Are there any websites that they can go to get more information?
Yes, just go to our website, mvspetcare.com, and that has all the information that you need from the consumer side and from the potential franchisee side.
That's fantastic, and I've really enjoyed having you on the show, Todd. I love this franchise concept. Again, it's I've done so many of these interviews up to this point, and I don't think I've had your type of service in 11 years, so it's always refreshing to me to interview it's something that's different, that's out there. I think that's really exciting. So I'd really like to invite you back as you continue to grow, because I think MVS has a really fantastic franchise opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. I really enjoyed being on the show and sharing our story.
This has been my pleasure, Todd. It's been great talking to you. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-4700.
That's franchiseteacher.com, or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes and lessons on our show. And if you go to our About Us page on franchiseinterviews.com, you'll take notice on why we started the podcast and radio show Franchise Interviews, and it suggests that every business has a story. And that's really been our experience in doing all of these podcasts and radio shows. Every show we do, you'll notice that every franchisor, every franchisee has an amazing story related to franchising. Today's Great Quote in Franchising podcast comes from Tony Luffy. And Tony Luffy is the Chief Executive Officer of the Marlowe Investment Group. And the Marlowe Investment Group are franchise owners of some very popular franchise systems such as Little Caesars, Sizzler, Jack in the Box, Arby's, Church's Chicken, and most recently Sears Appliance and Hardware stores. And Tony talks about the difference between opportunity and regret. There's another great quote relating to opportunity. And again, we talk a lot about opportunity on our weekly radio show. It's said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. But let's hear what Tony says about the difference between opportunity and regret.
That we've been able to do on a large scale.
It's amazing. If you go back to the beginning, Tony, I mean, were your goals, I mean, today, I mean, you're as large as like 200 plus units, but I mean, back then, I mean, when you go back to the beginning, I mean, was that your goal in the beginning, or was this kind of like just like a natural progression over time?
It's both. Really, when I, in the early 90s, when I finally became a partner, a 10% partner of a small company, I wanted to get to 50 units before I turned 50. So I don't know if that goal was really feasible in my head, but that was the dream. But the goal, the most important part of it was I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to allow my ability to manage people and work with people to develop into something that was bigger. I didn't know the size, nor did I plan for it to be a number of revenue, whether it's 10 million or 5 million, whatever it was. It was really finding a way to make a living and support my family, at the same time satisfying my personal need, which is to be an entrepreneur. And really, once that took place, it was more about the opportunities that came our way. And I always say the difference between opportunity and regret is being ready. So if you're ready, you see the opportunity as an opportunity. Otherwise, you spend a lifetime regretting the fact that you missed the opportunity. So to me, it's about being ready. And I've always worked so hard to make sure that we are ready for whenever that opportunity came our way.
That's fantastic. We have this Great Quotes in Franchising podcast. We're gonna put that quote in there, Tony, if you don't mind. I think that's very powerful. Maybe we could talk a little bit about your company. I mean, the Marlowe Investment Group. I mean,
if you'd like to hear that whole interview with Tony Luffy, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, and you can go to our franchises listed alphabetically page and simply go to the Marlowe Investment Group, and you can hear that whole interview. We have that interview also in our About Us page, and you can go to Franchise Interviews by category as well, and go under the food category, because that's where most of Tony's franchises are located within his portfolio. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a tremendous success. It's amazing how many people have listened to the podcast over the years, so it's really been wonderful, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.